All right, earlier we had the king of college football, Chuck Oliver, on the show. Now we've got the queen of the sports business. Her name is Christy Dosh, right, Sandra Golden?
Bob, thanks so very much. That's right. Christy Dosh is Miss Sports Biz. Hi, Christy.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. We're going to start talking about some stuff you guys are probably talking around the water cooler when it comes to the business behind some of the sports stories. And first up, we're going to talk lockouts, which is not a great subject, but all of a sudden the NBA and the NFL, they're gearing up for what could be a lockout. We'll begin with the NBA and the sticking points, which I don't believe at all, is they say that they have lost $400 million in the NBA. Yeah, right. Where?
The NBA's been crying that they lost this $400 million back since the end of last season. The problem is that this summer, the NBA sold $170 million in brand new season tickets, mostly because of the hype around LeBron. So the players are going to push back. The league wants to institute a hard cap. Right now, basketball has a soft cap. Teams can go over the cap and pay a penalty. What they want is something more like the NFL, a hard cap that can't be, that they can't go over. Mm-hmm. They're also going to push to reduce player salaries. I've heard by as much as 40%. What players association is going to agree to that?
That is never, ever going to happen. So when push comes to shove and they meet in the middle, you think they will agree to what?
One of the sticking points has been revenue sharing in the NBA. Right now, the NBA only moves around about $50 million between teams. Compare that to Major League Baseball, where they move around $433 million a year or thereabouts. The players want to push for this because they want to see small market teams be able to compete with these large market teams. It's going to help them get better money, especially your, middle, lower tier players. They're obviously not going to agree to this 40% reduction. The one thing I think they might agree to, the league's pushing for shorter guaranteed contracts, and that might be somewhere they have to give in order to keep their money.
Which makes a little bit more sense, and players probably say we can get out of the contract as well. Okay, so at the end of the day, though, you don't think that the NBA will be the league that has a lockout?
No, I think they have too much to lose.
Okay. On the other hand, guess what she does think is going to have a lockout? The NFL. That's right, the great and powerful Oz. 18 is the number that's jumping out when it comes to Roger Goodell and company. They want an 18-game schedule. They also want to cut salaries by 18%. That ain't going to happen.
No, they want them to play 2 extra games a year for less money. The players are going to push back. They already have been. They want better post-career health care. They want better pensions. They want to be taken care of and protected. A lot of them have a rough life when they leave the NFL. They really put their bodies out there. So they're going to push back. I think in the end, the 18-game schedule is going to happen, but there's going to have to be some concessions on these benefits. But I think the lockout's going to happen. I think we might miss a game or two, probably not a whole season, but the league has been gearing up. They say they've piled away enough money to pay interest payments on the stadiums in the NFL for 2 years. They've also had written into their television contracts for next year that they get their television money whether there's a lockout or not. So they've really got this war chest, and I think there's going to be a lockout.
I can't believe that the league, the most powerful league in all of sports, which is the NFL, would allow a lockout at this stage.
But that's why they think they can do it. They think they can throw around their weight, and the players will end up caving because they don't want the NFL to go through some of the pains the NHL went through after their lockout. But it's a strong players association these days, and they've got some valid arguments.
2012 season, 2011 season? Which one?
2011.
Oh, my goodness. Get your season tickets. All right, guys. We, of course, couldn't do a business segment without talking about Cam Newton, because we can't do any segment without talking about Cam Newton, right? Here's the deal. Christy was kind enough to go find the actual rules and regulations according to the NCAA, which says if, in fact, Cam Newton's father took or intended to take, he's in trouble.
Right. So if you heard the reports about Cecil Newton admitting to soliciting money from Mississippi State last week, then you heard that he talked about how Cam didn't know and Cam's mother didn't know. And the reason he was emphasizing that point, I'm sure, is because he talked to a lawyer. And he found out that the NCAA regulation, the problem is when you knowingly participate in some sort of improper benefit. So technically they think if they can prove Cam didn't know about it, then it's not a problem. The NCAA isn't going to let this fly. They cannot let this pass and have family members of players running all over the country soliciting money. Obviously it happens, and this is just a case where we've found out that it happened, but the NCAA is going to have to take a stand on this, and the interesting thing is going to be the timing. If it happens before the SEC game, the SEC has a really tough choice to make. Do they put in Auburn in the SEC game, or do they put in the second place Western team? And then if it comes out between the SEC game and the BCS game, and Auburn's scheduled to be in that BCS game. What does that do to the BCS to have Auburn in there without Cam Newton? So the timing's going to be really interesting.
The NCAA and the SEC must be laying awake at night saying, how did this just happen? The most prominent college football player in sports right now, and this is happening to them. But I do agree with you, Christy, this happens all the time, whether people are just stupid enough to admit it or to tell somebody. So
I can tell you what they're hoping. They're hoping that Alabama beats Auburn and they don't have to deal with it.
All right. There you have it. You can write your emails, Auburn fans, to Christy. There you have it. All right, everybody. Sports Night continues in 2. Christy, great stuff.
Thanks.
All right, we'll be right back.
Will the Tide roll over Auburn? Are the Dogs a huge disappointment?